Hello, good afternoon, and the warmest of welcomes indeed to today's iOB business webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. My name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business. Now, whilst we're getting set up for today's session, it's always useful to just give you a little run through of how these webinars work so that you can get the absolute most out of today's session as we're going through it. Okay, so first of all, please know that questions are always welcome. We're more than happy to answer them, and we do so in a Q&A session at the end of today's webinar presentation. Now, in between each of the three core topics that we always run through with the same structure, we always cover three topics. So in between each of the three topics, we're going to give you a chance to jot down any notes and indeed ask away with any questions by giving a brief pause in between each of the topics that we're going to go through today. So you'll notice me doing that. Don't worry, I haven't dropped off offline. I'm still there. If you want to ask away with any questions or indeed take a moment to jot down any notes you might wish to take as well. Okay, so as we are getting ready for the 2 o'clock mark, welcome. Pleasure to have you on here. Fantastic. Okay, cool. Yeah, excited to get going. Yeah, me too. Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, cool. Perfect. Okay, excellent. So right before we get kicked off, if everybody on here just now, whilst waiting for everybody else to join us, if you could do me a big favor, just let me know if you can hear my voice okay, and if you can see me up on screen okay. I'm going to switch off my camera in just a minute, and then I'll ask you again to confirm that you can see the presentation up on screen there. That'd be fantastic as well. All right. Sound check. All good. Awesome. All right. Nice one. So let's get the video switched off. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my presentation for you up on screen there. And in just a moment, you should be able to see your webinar for today. All right. Perfect. So quick sound check. Check that you can hear me okay. And number two, check that you can see the presentation up on screen okay. So don't worry if you can't see my face. You shouldn't be able to. I've switched off the video camera. So all I need you to be able to see is the webinar that we have for you up on screen and hear my voice. Perfect. So as soon as I get a thumbs up from that, I will know that we're ready to go and we'll get kicked off for today's webinar session, How a Business Provides Passive Income. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay, cool. Let's get kicked off then. So today's iOB business webinar, how a business provides passive income. Okay, now your presenter today is myself. My name is Ben. I'm a business coach and I specialize in working with many businesses just like the ones on this webinar. Okay, just like many of you listening into this presentation. Now, what I get to do is help these businesses achieve stability and help them grow. And it's a genuine pleasure, something I very much enjoy. So please get the absolute most that you can out of this webinar because I certainly love being here and I hope that you enjoy the session that we have coming up for you today. So number one, starting from the beginning. Okay, we're going to cover more of what that means as we go throughout today's session. Number two, building your structure and your systems. It's a very, very big part of running any business, never mind if you want passive income. All right. Number three, flicking on autopilot. Okay, this is a very, very last crucial step, one that we're going to take very, very seriously. Okay, so starting from the beginning, then let's talk about it. Your business will not provide passive income overnight. This is the biggest thing that I spend time debunking, if you like, the biggest myth that a business will not just randomly start providing passive income at the click of a button. This is something that takes time to build, it takes time to cultivate, and is very, very much worthwhile, but it's not something that will happen overnight. So the first kind of part of the belief system that I would like us to change is that, oh, I can just do something and the business will all of a sudden start running itself. It absolutely can, within reason, provide passive income, but to expect it to begin providing passive income immediately is going to only set you up for failure and therefore disappointment. It does take work, it does take dedication to get a business going, but once it is going, it's very, very strong with its momentum. Okay, now momentum is a key part here in building a business because when one good thing happens, you'll find that another and another and another start to happen like a domino effect. Okay, the bigger you get, the easier it becomes to grow. I know that's ironic, but it absolutely is. Starting from scratch is often the hardest part. Once you get yourself over that first hurdle, you begin to find yourself picking up momentum, having a compound effect on your success. Okay, so in order for anything to become sustainable and successful, it must be carefully developed. If you think about any business you've ever been a part in, okay, like Netflix, for example, or you've purchased from someone, you like a shoe shop. Okay. These businesses didn't just randomly plonk themselves there and say, hey, come and buy from us. Okay. It was cultivated. It was carefully developed in such a way that the very, very first stage of it had to be developed. It had to be developed enough to catch your eye, make you interested in buying it, make you see the value in it. Okay. Now, these businesses have developed over time, and now they begin to consistently achieve revenue, consistently achieve income. Okay. But that did not happen right on the very first moment. Okay. It takes time. So, in order for anything to become sustainable, and this is the key word here, successful is important, but sustainable is key. All right. It must be carefully developed. Now, because what you might find is that you set something up in the early stages and then, yeah, okay, cool, it works. It'll run on its own for like a week, a month, maybe even 2 months. Okay. But eventually it's going to collapse if it isn't sustainable. So, it's very, very important that we make sure that whatever is happening with the business can continue happening for extended periods of time with little involvement. That is what we're talking about today. So fundamentals must be developed from the ground up as if you're creating a large structure that must stand on its own. All right. So there's an analogy that I love to use here. And it's imagine you were building a tall tower. Okay. Now, without the correct foundation in place, that tower is going to begin to collapse. Now, what else is going to make it collapse? If it's built too quickly, if it's built with the incorrect materials, if corners are cut, it's going to be unstable and it's going to start waving about and bending left and bending right until eventually it tips over and hits the ground. Okay. We do not want this happening to your business. These fundamental elements of business, they must be developed from the ground up as if you're creating a large structure that must stand on its own. So if it helps, imagine your business is a large tower that needs solid foundations and solid structure throughout to continue providing for you long term. Okay. So that means you've got to get your sales right. You've got to get your marketing right. You've got to know where to advertise. You've got to put your operational structures in place. You've got to know how to manage your finances and cash flow. Okay. All of these things have to happen and more. And it doesn't happen overnight. Building a business is a process, and it's a process in which you should enjoy. Too many of us want to accelerate or fast forward to the end stage where we've got all this money or we've achieved what it is that we want to achieve. And too few of us remember to enjoy the process of learning and building that business. Okay. Now, here's the suggestion. Focus on a service offering that can be delivered without your direct input. Okay. If you want to one day build passive income, something that will create money for you on its own, okay, or almost on its own with a little bit of involvement, okay, because it's not completely realistic to think that we will never, ever have to have an involvement in the business again after we set it up. But we have to focus on a service offering that can be delivered without your direct input, okay? A great one for this is, let's say, software implementation, okay? Imagine you had a bit of software that you could charge a monthly fee for that ran on its own. It did its own job and it provided for your customers on its own. All you had to do from time to time was check in with the customer and just make sure that everything's running okay and running as well as you would like it to. Okay. You're overseeing. You're not necessarily working in the business. Okay. You're overseeing the business's success, almost looking at it from the outside saying, what would I change? What would I improve? What would I do? And that becomes very easy. Well, sorry, not necessarily easy, but it becomes significantly easier to do once you have detached yourself from the core and you can look at the business from the outside and say, I would change this, this, and this. And you need to have a business in which it doesn't require a huge amount of your time. Because if you're constantly working in the business, if you're constantly spending time over and over and over getting into client emails or working on accounts, okay? Not to say that this stuff isn't worth doing, but if you want to work on the business instead of in it, you're going to have a much harder time if you're spending all your time doing work for the business, okay? You've got to be able to stand outside it and say, what, if that was my business, which of course it is, what would I change? And the reason I frame it like that is because it's always easier to look at what somebody else is doing and think, I would do this, this, and this differently. Okay. If you've ever been in a restaurant or a cafe or a bar and you thought, do you know what? I would use different glasses, or I would have improved customer service, or I would order food this way. Okay. Much easier to look at somebody else's business and think about what they should improve. okay? Because you're not working in the business. Therefore, you don't have the blinders on, not allowing you to look outside what work is currently happening in the business. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number one, starting from the beginning. Now, as promised, I'm going to give you a brief moment to go ahead, jot down any notes you may wish to take, and indeed, do fire away with any questions that you have for us today as well. I'll be more than happy to answer them at the end of today's session. Fantastic. So let us move on now to topic number two, building your structure and your systems. Okay, so we're talking about the cogs of the machine here. How can we actually build the systemized business that we were talking about earlier? Okay, right. So where you can use technology to aid you, do it. So much time is wasted by entrepreneurs manually doing tasks that could be automated. Okay, now why is this time wasted? Wasted because you're sitting there doing it when there's something else that could be doing it for you. An intelligent piece of software can save you an enormous amount of time. Okay, so when we're talking about building structures and systems, we're not just talking about stuff that can do things for us. We're talking about things that can do things more quickly than we can, more efficiently than we can. All right. Now, let's say, for example, that every single time you had to send an invoice, you decided to open a blank Word document, you filled in all the information, put in your own lines, put in your own items, put in your address over and over again each time, and then you put in the amount, and then you manually saved it as a PDF and you sent it on to your customer. Okay, the amount of time that would take, easily 20 to 30 minutes every single time you needed to do an invoice. So two things would happen. Number one, you begin to dread making invoices because it takes so much time and it's so much effort. But the other thing that would happen is that you would spend an entire day, if not days, sending invoices, okay? Because each one takes half an hour. You've only got so much time in a day. Let's say you work 8 hours a day. You've got a maximum ability of sending 16 invoices a day there, okay? Now, that's if you spend the entire day doing invoices, all right? Now, let's say that you make an improvement and you use a template. You're still opening a Word document, but you're now using a template. So all you have to do is put in the address and put in the price and then send it on to the customer. Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, it's going to take you from 30 minutes down to maybe 5 or 6, but you're still opening up a Word document. You're still manually putting in the information and you're still saving it as a PDF and you're still sending it on to your customer. Okay, yeah, so some time is being saved, but what is the ultimate way of saving time here? The absolute pinnacle of what we can achieve with this system is a bit of invoicing software. Even better, a bit of invoicing software that does it all automatically. Okay, if it's a recurring amount, you can just set it to do it on its own every month. You put in the information once, it takes 60 seconds, and then you let it recur over and over and over and over again. Now, how much time have we saved you here? Have we saved you 5 to 10 minutes from using a templated Word document invoice? Or have we saved you 30 minutes by completely eliminating the use for a Word document altogether? Okay, we have completely systemized and automated something that was once extremely strenuous. Okay, now this is a deliberately obvious example because I wanted to highlight to you the difference that technology and software can make to our business and to our lives. It can save us astronomical amounts of time and it can do something much better than we can sometimes. So you must highlight each department and niche of your business. Okay, you have to understand what kind of departments your business has. Okay, so some businesses will be more heavily focused on sales. Some businesses will be heavily focused on marketing. Everybody has a different strategy as to how they hope to achieve their goals. Okay, so some are very much focused on picking up the phone and speaking with customers. Others are very much focused on running new advertising campaigns all the time. Okay, you must highlight each department and niche of your business and figure out what it is that can be systemized. Okay, because person A's ideal systemization isn't going to make sense for person B's or C's. Okay, everybody has a different structure of business, a different number of departments and niches, and it's going to find value in different ways, shapes, and forms with different softwares and different technologies. Okay, if you're somebody who offers paid advertising, for example, versus somebody else who offers web development, you're probably going to find that you would both benefit from different technologies and different softwares. Okay, software, an analytical tool, for example, might be more useful for you if you're tracking traffic on a website. Okay. If you're running paid ads, maybe the analytics are already built in, so you don't feel like you need that. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that either of these things are true. What I'm saying is you're both looking to systemize your business, but you're not going to do it in the same way. Okay. And it's very important to understand that. So understanding your departments and your requirements, you can then start to implement a team. Okay. You can begin to bring people in that can help. Now, we've been talking all of our time about softwares and systems. One crucial cog in the machine that can never be overlooked is the ability of somebody coming in that can massively enhance the way your business runs. Okay, so in order to fully step away from your business and have little to no involvement on a daily basis, you need someone there overseeing what's happening. Okay, but you can only bring people in if you understand your departments and you understand your requirements. Okay, this is truly only possible to truly effectively hire somebody in a specific role if and only if you know what you actually need them to do. Because such a common mistake that I see in the business world is people will hire, but they won't know why they're hiring that person. Now, the obvious one is, well, Ben, okay, well, they're hiring them for sales. Fair enough. But if I pressed a bit further, I might ask, well, what type of sales? Telesales? What are they going to be doing? Are they going to be picking up the phone? Are they going to be speaking one-on-one with customers? Are they going to be speaking to groups? Are they going to be getting up on stage and presenting your business? Are they going to be doing live presentations? What kind of sales? Okay. Now, are they somebody who prefers to be called or do the calling? Are they somebody who prefers to be in an office environment, or do they prefer to work, remote sales? Do they prefer to go business to business, door to door? Do they prefer to spend their time working from home? Okay. Now, we need to know what they prefer and what they enjoy, because when we know these things, we'll know what they'll be truly great at. Often people are fantastic at things that they genuinely enjoy, okay, because they've done it all their lives without even realizing it. But the second part, and equally as important, is that we have to make sure that those preferences, those requirements, those fulfillment angles make sense for us as well as the business. So rarely do businesses ever check. Not only can that person do the basic requirements of the job, but are they going to excel in this position? Okay, because we forget to check. Okay, well, this person's fantastic at sales, but they actually do all of their sales over email. They do not like picking up the phone, and they will not speak to customers. Now, unfortunately, if we don't ask this, it's something that we're not going to find out until we've already hired them, and we see this happening in the office environment. So you have to understand your team. You have to understand your departments and your requirements, and you can then start to build an effective team. All right. Now, just like anything, a team and technological systems, they need to be monitored. Okay. They can't be ignored. So there's things that you can put in. There are certain measures that you would need somebody to meet. There are KPIs that you can implement. There are ways that you can develop systems around these people and around these technologies to make sure that they're performing the way that you wish them to. So you set them goals each day, each week, each month, and say, look, I would like you to do this, please. If you're making 30 calls a day as a salesperson and you're getting one new lead out of those 30 calls, that's our target. So if you're not doing that, then something is going wrong. Okay, something negative is happening. If these numbers are incorrect, then tell me, but we must have a goal for you to hit. Otherwise, something is not working. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number 2 now. Once again, we'll take a brief pause. We'll give you an opportunity to jot down any notes and indeed ask away with any questions. And I'll be back with you in just a moment's time. Wonderful. So let's move ourselves now on to the third and final topic of today's conversation, flicking on autopilot. So we've achieved the systems, we've built the correct team, we understand how our business runs and how it will be run most effectively. Okay, it's a formula, it's a process, just like everything. Okay, it's not going to be easy to get right, but once we do, we know that we can then do what? We can flick on autopilot. Okay, so in order to allow the business to provide income passively, you must run gradual tests, each time becoming less and less involved. Okay, so here's another key mistake that people make. They expect to be able to take a step back from the business like that, snap of a finger. Okay, now here's the problem with that. If you do that, the business in its passive income state is completely untested. It has absolutely no track history of performing without you. Therefore, you don't truly know if the business is going to be able to do that or not. Okay. So in order to allow the business to provide income passively, you must run these gradual tests. Okay. Now, each time you run a test, take a step back and a step further back and a step further back until you are completely uninvolved. Okay. But do not become detached immediately. And the final point here, you should always, always, always be observing the business. You should always be interested. You should always be analyzing what's happening, even if it's just going on your phone for 30 minutes a day and saying, well, what are the sales today? How are the team doing? Is everything going okay? If you know that, perfect. Go and have a fantastic day. If things are not going the way that you wish them to go, step in, see what the problem is, see how you can fix it. As the leader of the business, it is always your responsibility to check why something isn't working when it's going wrong. Okay. Now, back to our original point. In order to allow the business to provide passive income, you've got to run gradual tests. Take a step back, run a test. Take a further step back, run a test. And when you are confident and the business has a track history of month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, and so on, of running more and more without your direct involvement, you then know, okay, it should be pretty safe to say the business is going consistently. I can probably take a step back with no major issues. Okay. Now, the business and the systems within the business must have a consistent history of performing well. Okay. We don't want them to just be doing something. We need them to be doing the exact thing that we have asked them to do. Okay. So if you have certain expectations, for example, your salesperson needs to be making 30 calls a day and they need to be bringing in at least one new lead a day, then that is what must be happening. We will accept nothing less than the goal that we have set for ourselves and the goal that we have set for the business. We have to be specific, because if we are not specific, we leave enormous margins for error. And this is where stuff starts to go wrong. It's in that margin for error that the negative stuff happens. The more precise we can get, the less mistakes will occur and the higher objectives we will be able to hit time over. Okay. The business and the systems within the business must have a consistent history of performing well before you can truly say, that's fine, I'm going to take a step back now. Okay, I'm going to take an extra holiday this year, or I'm going to start working half days. Don't do that until you have a conclusive, as far as possible, result that you can say, that's fine. If we achieve that every day, I'd be happy with that. And now I feel more confident to take that step back from the business. Now, nothing is ever completely passive. We talked about that at the beginning of today's webinar session. Nothing will completely run itself either. Okay, you must monitor from time to time. And like I said, even if that's just logging onto your desktop for 30 minutes every morning, or whether that's having a weekly call with your salesperson or head of sales, head of marketing, heads of departments, just have a weekly call with all of them and say, hey, how are you? Is there anything I can do to help? Are you running okay? Right? It is your business. It is your income at stake. So make sure that you actually give it attention when needs be, but don't feel the need to be directly involved 24/7, or even, dare I say, begin micromanaging the people within the business. You have to trust the people that you bring in to run the business for themselves in the relevant department and role. So nothing is ever completely passive, okay? Or will completely run itself. It needs attention from you as the leader of the business, but you can automate enormous amounts of the business so that you really are spending very little time. And what time you do spend in, you will very likely enjoy. Okay. So you must monitor it from time to time. Now, here's an idea if you want to begin structuring your business better, structuring your time better. Set hours and parameters for when you are available for contact. Okay. This will help you create as passive an environment as possible. Let the people around you, if you want to speak, unless it is an absolute emergency, I'm available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. Okay, now that might sound extreme. It might sound a long way off, but I personally have worked with people who began to implement strategies such as this one. Maybe not this specific strategy, but one's very, very similar. Now, the way you achieve this is by being very, very firm. Okay, if something comes in at 10:01, you do not touch it. Okay, you can have systems and structures and notifications in place within the business that say, look, if this is a level 1, I need to hear about it. If it's a level 5, I don't need to hear about it. That's assuming 1 would be the most urgent, 5 would be the least urgent, or you could swap them around. Okay. If you are going to make contact with me, it had better be a level 1. Okay. If it is not, I am very, very sort of misled in my beliefs that the business is passive. Okay, I need to understand that when I'm being contacted out with the agreed hours, if that's happening, that something is going very, very wrong and it needs my direct involvement just now. Now, again, it sounds extreme, but I'm putting in these bits of advice to help you understand if you truly want a passive business, you have to be very, very firm with your structure, sorry, okay? Now, setting these hours and perimeters, what's it going to do? It's going to help you balance your day better. It's going to help you balance your time better. It's going to help you balance your business better. Okay. So that brings us to the end of topic number 3. Now, in just a moment's time, after another brief pause, we'll do a recap and then I'll answer your questions that we have from today. Thank you very, very much for asking. I look forward to answering the questions that I have just now, but it's not too late. If you want to ask any more questions, it would be a pleasure. I'll be back online with you in just a moment's time after you've had that brief pause. Fantastic. So let's move on to the recap of today's session then. Number 1, carefully develop your foundations, okay? Understand that the business cannot grow if it does not have the correct foundations in place, and it certainly cannot become passive, okay? So carefully develop your foundations. Number 2, allow your system to aid you, okay? Make sure that the time that you spend creating these systems will provide benefit for you in the long run. And finally, engage autopilot, take control when necessary, okay? Think of it this way. It's a very, very cool way to look at it. Most of the time it's running on autopilot, but when you need to get back in front of the controls, you do that for the business, okay? So, as always, a massive thank you for taking the time to attend today's session. It's been a genuine pleasure. If you'd like to talk to a member of our team, you can head over to iob-business.com/talk-to-us. On this link, you can go ahead and book a call at a time that suits you, and you'll see a calendar just like this one. The link in the calendar I'm going to leave up on screen for you just now whilst I go and get the questions from today's session. Number 1, why can I not just set up the systems and walk away? Amazing question. Let's go over this again. So if something goes wrong, who solves it? Okay. What if your manager is struggling in a certain situation? You can make yourself available only for emergencies, but unlikely there'll ever be a time where you can completely detach from the business 100%. Okay. And truth be told, as a leader of the business, this isn't something we should aim for. Okay. We should want to be enjoying the passive nature of the business, but not necessarily wanting to detach from it 100%. We always want to know what's going on. So I hope that helps. A great question. Next question. What systems would you suggest? Okay, cool. Perfect. So just some basic systems like software suggestions. Accounting software. It's a big one for sending invoices, helping you manage your cash flow, things like that. Really speeds up time. CRM, another very, very good one just for managing things like emails or customer data or, anything you need to know or how to, provide a better service for your customers, things like that. Always be secure though. Okay. Another good one is task management. Okay. To-do lists. If you're somebody that struggles with, keeping up to date with what it is that you got to do or organizing your time. Digital calendars, okay, they're an absolute must. You must have your daily routines and appointments and tasks and projects written on a daily calendar, because if you don't, you really do then run the risk of missing meetings or not getting a certain project done in time. And marketing, okay, marketing software, very, very good. Get stuff that can maybe help you be creative, remind you when you need to post something on social media, stuff like that. Very, very good as well. So that's probably, I think that was 4 or 5 suggestions there, maybe more to help you at least get a start. Okay, so another awesome question. Thanks very much for asking. Do we have any more? No. Okay, wonderful. Well, as always, it's been a pleasure, and thank you ever so much for spending the time with us on today's iOB business webinar. I very much look forward to speaking with you again in the near future. Take care and bye for now.